there, Akuma fans. Charlie with the Gossip Application staff. Got an advanced one for you today. Had a customer call me. He's got a Multis U machine, and restarting the machine is kind of a pain if you've got a long and involved program, and you need to do a restart that synchronizes the upper and lower turret. So I thought, let's see if I can concoct something really cool to help out with this. So let me show you what I got here. If you look at my screen, you'll see that I've got what's actually a short program, but I structured it in such a way so that it's going to take some time to actually run or restart. So let's go over here and we will edit and do an A-B divide just to show you what it's going to do. Okay, upper turret, lower turret, very simple. Starts by setting a common variable. This is just going to be a clicker, a counter if you will. And then I'm going to go into a loop that says that the new value of that variable, which used to be 1, is now whatever it used to be plus 1. And then if the variable that the sum of the variable you just put together is less than 10,000, I want you to skip back up here, and it's going to increment again. So basically all I've done is created a little loop for both the upper and the lower turret that's simply going to run through and count one increment at a time all the way up to 10,000. This is just to synthesize a long and lengthy program. So let's go ahead and run it, and you'll see that when I hit cycle smash, oops, we are in eco stop. That never happens to you guys, right? Okay, mash the green button and there we go, takes off. See, it's counting away. If I come over here to my parameter page, you'll notice that, yep, it's counting one piece at a time. And so this is going to take some time to get to the end of my program. So I'm going to reset that. Just now you see what it's going to do. And now this will help to illustrate the problem that's going to occur if I try to do a restart on a lengthy program. So I'm going to start by going into my A turret and doing a standard restart. We'll do restart, and I'm going to try to restart here at NA280 and NB280. So for upper turret, NA280, enter, and those of you that have done this before, you know that when you hit OK there, nothing visually happens until you come up and select the B turret and then do a restart and tell it where to start. In this case, NB280. And now as soon as I click OK, we'll see the program take off, and it is going back over to parameters. It's sitting there doing its little count. So this is going to take some time. It's just sitting here creeping through. This is synthesizing a big long program that's long and involved, and we'll have to sit here for like the next 10 or 15 minutes while this long program gets digested through the processor, and then we can do the restart. So that's undesirable in a case where your program is super long. So what the heck can we do about it? The first is the edit. We're going to come in here and we're going to do an A-B divide, and in the header of my program here I am simply going to add a line that says goto NA280, and I'll do the same thing for the other side and say, yep, goto NB280. Don't get ahead of me if you've already seen this. Combined, okay, select and quit, yes. Now, because I've got this jump in here, when I do my restart, same process as before, identical. Go to turret A, restart at NA280, and then come over to my B turret and do a restart there of NB280. Watch what happens as soon as I click OK, bonk, it goes right to it because the restart respects the goto line. Awesome. So now I could just follow through with my normal procedure, which is to touch sequence restart, allow the machine to synchronize to where it's supposed to be, and then mash the green button and boom, we've skipped over. Okay, that's super simple and super quick. Plus, it has the added benefit of not requiring me to do something different when I'm doing restart. Whether I've got the goto in there or not, it's going to skip over the lengthy code. Okay, that's awesome. But now this is a process that I've experienced quite a few times, in that, all right, I did that, I restarted my program, everybody was happy. I forgot that I had that goto in there. So my next part, I loaded up, I mashed the green button, and oh man, it didn't run that first time. The code that's up above, and that could be a crash, it could be a scrap part, it could be a whole bunch of stuff. And I would like some kind of safeguard to prevent me from forgetting that that goto is in there. So here's a couple of ideas. Now the first one that comes to mind is to simply put in a block skip. And so now it is going to jump if block skip is not on. Well, yeah, but lots of post processors block skip certain pieces of code, such as the pre-staging of a tool, so block skip is already used for me. Plus, also, that's kind of backwards of what I want to do. It is requiring me to have block skip on if I'm doing things normally, but have block skip off if I want to read the goto. That seems backwards. Here's what I came up with that helped a customer out an awful lot. Let's go ahead and go into, let's combine. Okay, we're going to quit stop. We're not going to save that. I'm going to come back over to my my key panel, and I've got this button for machine operation right here. I'm sure you all have used this time and time again. You know, that's how you recover your ATC. But what some people don't know about is the menu if you have the gauging function for the touch setter right here. This guy. That guy has a few different buttons down here on the bottom that can create different systems that the machine will look at. I'm going to focus on this guy, the breakage cycle. Now this is designed for a conditional loop in your program that will do a tool break check, but only if someone has come in and touched this breakage cycle button. Okay, well that's cool, but we can use it for anything we want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to close out of this. We'll show you how it works here in just a second. I'm going to get into my program again, AB divide, and now I'm going to put in that conditional so that I can utilize that breakage button for my goto statement. So the conditional statement would read that if, yeah, well that's all conditional statements. The variable, the system variable for that particular button is VDIN35. So I'm going to tell it if VDN35 is equal to 0. Hey, let's move that great big cursor out of the way, shall we? If VDN35 equals 0, I'm going to tell it to go to a sequence here. And I'm going to bracket my goto statement with those two commands. There's the N and there's the N. So that if this conditional is met, it's going to skip over my goto line. And I'll do that same thing here. If VDIN35 is equal to 0, let's go N out B, and then bracket this guy with N out B. There we go. Combined, okay, select and quit, come back to my main screen and confirm. There we go. Now I've got my little conditional statement there that says if that button equals 0, in other words it is not pressed, I want you to skip over this goto statement. So as I'm running in my day-to-day life, I just make sure machine operation, the breakage cycle is not turned on. We'll also have this little indicator right here about whether it's on or off, but right now that button is not pushed. So let's see how it works. if I were to just mash the green button, zoop, it comes in here and it starts doing its counting. It's starting from the top. So this conditional was met. So it said, yep, I want you to skip over the goto and come down and do my program. Now this time I'm going to machine operation, and my breakage cycle is over F2. Now my layout is kind of mushed, so I got to come over here and touch F2. When I do it, you'll notice the breakage cycle button depressed, and now my breakage cycle light is on, which means that my VDN35 does now equals 1. So this conditional is not true, and it's going to skip right to NA280. So zoop, there it went. Boom, just like that. It skipped over all of this variable stuff. And same thing, if I do my restart, select the upper turret and say I'm restarting at NA280, and my B turret is going to restart at NB280. Okay, zoop, went right to the code without having to digest all of that lengthy code. Sequence restart, mash the green button, and I'm off and rolling. That just sped up the restart feature by 15 minutes, which is awesome. Okay, so that seems to work pretty darn well, but no solution is ever perfect. I do have to remember to come back over here and remove my breakage cycle by touching the measure cancel, whoops, F5, there you go, measure cancel, and turn that back off before I move on. Otherwise I get bit by that goto once again. But at least now you don't have an operator that's getting in there to modify your programs to change the goto statement, put an operator node around it, that sort of thing. So this is just one more way that we can use system variables to prevent us from getting into too much trouble. Creates its own trouble, but hey, it's something. Okay, so that is a nice little manual switch method, but it's still, like I alluded to, it still has its share of potential pitfalls. So let's try one more. This method is more of an automatic function, something that we don't have to worry about day to day. Okay, let's get back in here to our program, and I'm going to take out the VDIN statement. Just pull that out because that's the manual switch. I'm going to leave the rest of the structure there, but now I want to do something that's a little automatic. Let's think about what the computer is doing during a normal cycle when I mash cycle slam. It starts at the top of the program, it reads through, I want it to run all this code. So wait a second, what if instead of that VDIN statement, I told it I don't want you to read this goto unless you're in restart? Can I do that? Heck yeah, I can. I'm going to start another conditional if square bracket VRSTT. That is the system variable for restart. Now I want to tell the machine that if your restart is not being used, don't read this goto. So if VRSTT does not equals 0, then that means we're not using the restart function. I want you to skip to my out block, my dump out block. Do the same thing over here. If VRSTT equals 0 in out B. There we go. So now if I were to combine, okay, select and quit, yes. I'm going to come back over here, and just to make sure that I didn't hose something up like Charlie usually does, I'm going to go into my machine operation and make sure that my breakage cycle is turned off. We're not using it, but I just wanted to make sure that somebody out there in the comments didn't go, yeah, you left the damn block on. So now when I do my mash the green button, Notice that it just jumped right in and it's doing the entire program. However, if I were to do a auto mode, restart in the upper turret at NA 280, okay, and restart the lower turret at NB 280. Now watch how quick it goes. Bonk, it jumped right to it because that conditional was not met. The conditional says, whoops, I forgot to do my restart. Yeah, but you saw it jump, right? You saw it, keep me honest. So this conditional was not met because I was using the restart key and was able to tell it, yep, the restart variable did not equal 0, so it would now read this goto statement. It is now on me when I'm doing a restart to make sure I go in there and change that goto statement so that it jumps to the correct line. And again, it is still a manual function in that I have to make sure that my A turret program and B turret program is synchronized properly in between wait codes, and that's still all on me. But now that goto will be completely ignored during normal cycle. There's an automatic function. So if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe, get my YouTube algorithm going again. It's been stagnant for a couple of weeks. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to your local Gossamer application staff or stick your comments in the remarks on the video, and I'll do what I can to help you out. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you out in the field.